we came out with Saints Row 1, there really weren't that many open world games that were out there. And I think that at this point in the industry, it's pretty tough to come up with a game that really is unlike anything else out there. That's one of the things that I think the people have always loved about Saints Row. There's nothing else like that in terms of the tone, in terms of all the options and the over-the-top nature of everything.
Put in your tampons and let's do this.
It's kind of like improv, building on top of it, and then you kind of take a step back and look at all what you created. We have a dildo bat plan because we have meetings where we sit around and we talk about, well, what if we do this? Have we thought about this? And like these really like intricate conversations about these really silly things.
For the most part, the game's all about the player having fun, doing crazy shit, sort of having their way with the game.
It's a huge initiative, and there's so much to this game that trying to get everything right and to get everything balanced and polished and get everything tested, it's definitely a testament to the team.
We've got a talented bunch of folks here that put it all in and try to stand toe-to-toe against giants, and I think we're doing all right.
We love our fans, and so that's why Saints Row 4, we really took this approach of it being like a love song to our fans. That we never forget the people that stuck with us this entire time, because that's why we got to be where we are. Without Saints Row 1 and 2, there'd be no Saints Row 3. Without Saints Row 3, there'd never be a Saints Row 4. And so finding ways to go and have the game evolve, but evolve in such a way that doesn't alienate them, that makes them feel that they're a part of the journey, rather than being forced to come along for a ride they never wanted, is something that's very important to us. It takes a lot of work to make something that's beautifully stupid.
Oh! It's insane. It blows my mind just the levels that the storyline goes to. It just crosses all boundaries.
I'm more fun as a gang leader.
We have a country to run. Fun isn't part of the equation.
So in a nutshell, years have passed since the events of Saints Row 3. And the player, through heroic action that you get to go and play a part of in the beginning of the game, is kind of thrust into more fame and adulation, in the respect of America. And as a result, he becomes the President of the United States.
But around this time, that is when Zinyak and the evil Zen invaders come in. They abduct the president, they abduct all of your homies.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a time for fear, but a time for celebration. Today, the best and brightest among you will find salvation within the Zen Empire.
They put you in a strange version of Steelport to try to twist your mind and get you to become part of the Zen. But unbeknownst to Zinyak, you're a psychopath, you don't really play by his rules, and you rebel against him. And so you break out of the simulation, you have to work to get your allies, and ultimately take the fight to Zinyak.
Is this virtual reality prison that you're placed in? It really lets us go and play with reality and put us in unique situations that are tailored to the characters.
This isn't a born-again thing, is it?
No, she's future you.
It's so different than anything we could go and do in the real world.
It's pretty wild. It's an interesting ride for sure. It's easy to sort of be concerned that it's too crazy, but in terms of Saints Row and where the franchise has come and where it's going, it makes sense.
Nothing was out of bounds. We could do literally anything.
What the fuck?
We don't use that kind of language here in Steelport.
We're definitely turning the tables on the aliens. For all the misery that they have inflicted on the human race, being able to use an anal probe on them seems only just.
Mechanic standpoint, as well as a breadth of content standpoint, Saints Row 4 is the biggest and best game that we've ever made.
We had just gone over the top with Saints Row 3, and we were wanting to just have fun, and that's what we did. We just gave them more tools to play with in the sandbox, more superpowers, more crazy over-the-top weapons.
One of our earliest changes that we made to Saints Row 4 was to introduce the superpowers to the game. And it just makes the gameplay totally different with being able to roam around the world, super leap, super sprint through the world. You have all these powers But then what we started to think about is if I have all these amazing powers and I'm fighting against just the standard game members like we've usually had in all the previous Saints Row games, it's going to be a very difficult challenge for us to try to balance the game as a result of that.
You know, in Saints Row the Third, we took it up to 11, so on Saints Row 4, they want to take it up to 13. And so we really can't just have regular gangs, even if they're wearing Mexican wrestler masks. We've got to go even further. So we've got the aliens.
Hello, humans.
Having aliens in Saints Row 4 really allowed us to expand on these crazy weapons that we're known for. So if we didn't have aliens, we probably wouldn't be able to do, black hole gun, super overpowered laser rifles, the inflato ray, plasma rocket launchers. None of that would really make sense without these aliens.
Damn, I'm good.
When designing the rectifier, one of our lead animators had the idea to put a tongue inside the tip of it. When it opens up, there's a tongue inside and it's wiggling all around. So after I created that, he animated it and grossed himself out so bad that he requested that we remove the weapon from the game. We left it in.
Every year, more and more games kind of come out in the open world genre, and I totally understand why. It's an amazing space to be in. It's so exciting, it's immersive, it allows the player to go and feel they're a part of something bigger than themselves. The nice thing is that no matter how many people go and come into the open world genre, we always feel that Saints Row stands apart as something different from the pack. There's no other game where you can go and change the gender, ethnicity, body shape, and voice as completely as you can in Saints Row. There's no other game where it says, listen, we've recorded the entire game 7 times for you to go and experience with the voice that you want.
Poverty is a problem.
Apartheid is a problem.
This is just a couple of...
Here's the latest approval poll. We lost 20 points, we can get them back.
It just celebrates the fact that it is a game, that it is just fun and bombastic and whimsical, which is great. I think it's great for everybody.
I'm just that good.
We don't want the player to jump through our hoops. We want to jump through the player's hoops.
Saints Row doesn't bother with asking why, it just asks why not.
There's some people who really love Saints Row 3, and there's some people who really love Saints Row 2. And they would go and they'd argue online which game was better. And Saints Row 4 is kind of our attempt to go and bring these people together into one big happy Saints Row family.
Yep, I did that.
What's up? It's Terry Crews. This is Saints Row 4 in the house. It takes just the same amount of effort as you would in a movie.
So what's the situation look like out there?
It's bad.
Why do I have a feeling that's a big understatement?
I think fans are going to be the most excited, obviously, about Johnny Gat. Johnny Gat is back.
Now we're talking.
It's almost a daily occurrence when one of my followers on Twitter will ask me what's happening with Johnny Gat, what's happening with Saints Row 4. It's a testament to how powerful this game is to the gaming community.
We tried to do a little bit of a twist with Shondi. We have Saints Row 2 Shondi, who is obviously a much more laid-back version of Shondi versus the more angry version of Shondi that you might have experienced in Saints Row the Third.
The most memorable thing you ever did was get captured by your smoked-out ex.
That's not true.
I'm sorry, and fucking half of Stillwater. Go team.
I always thought you were just really friendly and hated pants.
Someone gets it.
You get to actually craft who that person is. Everything down from hair color, eye color, height, body build, male, female, ethnicity, everything.
There's no separation of gender in this game. You can be anything you want to be, and there's no difference in the way people interact with you.
I know over the years you've heard this speech a bunch of times.
Heard it. Bitch, I wrote it.
We have a lot more surprises in store for fans. This is Saints Row fan service to an nth degree, and I'm so fucking excited about it.
Pretty much anything goes now.
Saints Row, let's go.
You like that?
It's easy to look at something like Saints Row and go and think, oh God, they're just doing whatever. What's the appropriate level of crazy for a certain thing? The amount of discussions that we have about seemingly innocuous things are really weird. And like, it takes a lot of work to make something this beautifully stupid.
Thank you. I mean it.
You're not wearing pants.
This just got weird.
Without Saints Row 1 and 2, there'd be no Saints Row 3. Without Saints Row 3, there'd never be a Saints Row 4. And so we have to go and respect that.
There needs to be a dialogue between us and the people who love what we do.
My name is Mike Watson. I own idleninja.com. I've been doing mods for the franchise since Saints Row 2 for PC.
So Steve called Mike up on the phone and asked him to come out and try out the game.
Leave it to the Saints. Brought to you by Friendly Fire, the only
It hasn't felt real to me until now.
And then later I followed up with Steve about the stuff that he was doing with modding and basically said, you know, could we get in touch with some people from Volition? So we came up with Kinsey's Toy Box for the SR3 modding SDK that we're building.
And now there's some dedicated guys who are trying to go and help support that modding community and giving them what they want.
We're working on this in our spare time, even though we have lots of other things to do. And the reason we're doing this is people out in the modding community, they're developers too, and it would be crazy for us not to give them tools to be able to follow their passion. We absolutely cannot wait to start getting the first releases out where people can start modding weapons, changing clothes, changing characters, putting their own face and their own ideas onto our game, and really taking Saints Row and making it the ultimate expression of customization.
This isn't me.
Shondi, you okay?
This is getting weird. Get out.
There's kind of a little bit of a holy war that happened after Saints Row 3 came out. There's some people who really love Saints Row 3. There's some people who really love Saints Row 2. And Saints Row 4 is kind of our attempt to go and bring these people together into one big happy Saints Row family.
I love Saints Row 2 on a level far beyond any other game.
He felt that the franchise forgot about him because I was with you guys for the first 2 games. And then he went so far in this other direction in Saints Row 3. And he's like, you know, maybe the game is just not for me anymore. You can never go and feel disappointment if you never loved something. And so that's why Saints Row 4, we really took this approach of it being like a love song to our fans.
It started off a little slow, and I think part of that was, you know, I was looking at a lot of unfinished assets, unfinished cutscenes. But once I got past a certain point in the story where I started being able to change weapon skins, when they started getting more of the superpowers, that's when it became something really special.
Over the course of 3 days, it was interesting seeing him go from being trepidatious to being interested to loving it.
There's just so much great stuff in this game that I didn't expect.
A lot of the open world takes place in this virtual recreation of Steelport, which has been great because you kind of have a sense of familiarity, but we also knew we wanted to go and feel different. Because of superpowers, that's exactly what happens. You experience the city in a very different way. I mean, we have structures changed, we add these massive alien towers that you can climb up, but the biggest thing is that because you are leaping over buildings, the whole vertical element of it has redefined everything about the city.
Because that was like the most fun I've ever had playing a Saints Row game or any superhero game.
Whoa, guys, can we just get to murdering already?
If we know that people like certain things, we should celebrate that and give them more options. We know people wanted more customization options. Let's let them customize weapons.
Because all the weapons in 4 are just like crazy amazing.
Shouldn't have fucked with the president.
So whether you're a fan of Saints Row 2 or Saints Row 3, you're really going to be in for a surprise.
We have Johnny Gat. Will not be a Saints Row game without Johnny Gat. Benjamin King from Saints Row 1 as your chief of staff. We have a lot of the old favorites from Saints Row 3, Kinsey, Pierce, Shondi, other Shondi.
It really feels like a celebration of the entire Saints Row franchise instead of just a continuation of Saints Row 3. I feel like Steelport's actually part of the Saints Row universe, and like now that I feel that way, I feel better about the new characters.
Obviously, every game we want to bring more people in. We want more people to go and experience the game than the previous one. But it's also so important that we never forget the people that stuck with us this entire time, because that's why we got to be where we are.